What's going on, everyone? This past season, the Portland Trailblazers essentially threw in the towel. Damian Lillard got hurt and missed most of the season, and then the Portland Trailblazers proceeded by blowing the team up, trading CJ McCollum, and basically any contract they could, Covington to the Clippers, things like that, right? With the intention and idea of building and restarting this upcoming offseason around Damian Lillard. There is a lot of talk about Damian Lillard potentially wanting out, although he has been very vocal about wanting to stay in Portland and he plans on being there for the foreseeable future. But that could always change, right? Portland can't just stand pat and take the number 7 draft pick and just hope that Damian Lillard is able to, stick around and be happy, right? And not just that, but Damian Lillard himself is only getting older, and now he's starting to have an injury history, and there's a lot of concerns of will he be able to return to form next season. I mean, this season, even leading into the injury, there was a lot of questions of what is going on with him. He wasn't having the best year, but nonetheless, the Portland Trailblazers are going to use him as the centerpiece for the foreseeable future. So that being said, what possibilities could the Portland Trailblazers go into and explore this upcoming season to put around Damian Lillard a quality team that maybe can contend? And the issue is there aren't a ton of valuable free agents this year, which is another concern. But there are a few pieces and trades and things like that I want to explore, and of course hear your thoughts and opinions, so join the discussion down in the comments below. And that being said, diving into it right off the bat is the Zach Lavine, right? Zach Lavine, there is a lot of rumors and speculation going around the possibility of him leaving the Bulls. And the Portland Trailblazers is a big destination that is rumored for him to want to go to. Him and Damian Lillard would be quite the 1-2 punch. My concern, though, with Zach Lavine, although I will say, if Portland has the opportunity to get him, I think you go get him. My concern, though, is what is the difference between him and Lillard and CJ McCollum and Lillard, right? I mean, it's that same not really great defensive backcourt. Yeah, you have two guys that kind of just do the same thing. I mean, Damian Lillard, as great as he is, he's more of a shooting guard than a traditional point guard. Zach Lavine, he's along those lines, although both can play make. And I'm not saying they can't, but so could CJ McCollum, right? And especially more with the Pelicans. We saw a lot of what CJ could really do with the Pelicans if he's put in the proper position. He's a guy that can go and get 25 to 30 a night and dish out 5 assists, get you 5 rebounds. Zach Lavine is that guy as well. Zach Lavine is still relatively young, right? And he's a guy that Portland could have stick around for quite some time. It might also just help that it's fresh because even though the CJ and Lillard may be very similar to Lavine and Lillard, the difference is that it's something new, it's something fresh from not just a fan standpoint, but also a team standpoint. You're going to have different pieces around them that you wouldn't have had with CJ and Lillard. But beyond that, it allows this team to really maybe see what can we do with a change of pace, a change of scenery, a new face, that kind of thing. Beyond that, the Portland Trailblazers are projected to have about $63 to $64 million this upcoming season. So you could sign a Zach Lavine and still have plenty of money to fill out your roster and go get some quality pieces. But again, the free agent market doesn't have a ton out there to really sort of center around these two players if you were to get a Zach Lavine. But the Portland Trailblazers, as I mentioned, have the number 7 pick. So maybe they can use the 7 pick and a couple other pieces or, draft picks. They also got a ton of capital and things like that they can use. Like they stockpiled quite the assets for that purpose, to make a trade, to initiate a trade with other teams. And so what is a trade that they could do? Because many of you may be thinking well, why don't they just keep the number 7 pick? Because Damian Lillard, again, they're not trying to rebuild. They're trying to put a quality team around Lillard. And yeah, that number 7 pick could develop and turn into somebody significant, but that is later on down the road. Lillard needs pieces now. So you package the 7 pick and insert your favorite trade. And let's say you go after a Jerami Grant. We know Jerami Grant is available. I mean, even the Detroit Pistons have said that they're looking for either a young player and a first or 2 first-round draft picks. Now, let's go on the assumption that you get Lavine, right? So you get Lavine and you have Damian Lillard. And if you can package the number 7 pick, maybe a future pick or two, and go and get a Jerami Grant, I think that that is a great core to start with. You got a big 6'8" guy that can do multiple things, play multiple positions, guard multiple positions. On top of that, he's a guy that can score, alleviate. He can do everything. He is the perfect third guy for this team of Lillard, Lavine, and then if you get a Jerami Grant, I think Jerami Grant sort of fits a lot of what the Blazers' issues were in the past with CJ and Lillard. You need that guy that can guard multiple positions, that can, switch out and defend point guards if need be, or defend, the wing players. And Jerami is that guy that you have to do that. Jerami is, again, a younger guy, so it helps with the core that you have. You have Lillard, you have Lavine, you have Grant. You have these three for the foreseeable future. The three guys that you can really build your team around and sort of structure. You can give Jerami Grant a new deal. The Pistons, they just want to rebuild, right? They are in a full real rebuild mode. So it makes a ton of sense for them to trade that away to get a number 7th pick in this draft and maybe a future pick or 2 or whatever. And then, throw in whatever you need to throw in. But ultimately, go and get a guy like Jerami Grant. But another option that I don't think is as likely, I think Jerami Grant is extremely achievable. I think he's a guy that they could really go get if need be. But OG Anunoby, we've talked about him quite often on this channel lately because of all the rumors and speculations that he wants out or that the front office is thinking about trading him. And whatever the case may be, whether either is true or none of them are true, just the possibility of getting an OG. He does a lot of the same things that I mentioned with Jerami Grant. He's still very young. He's a guy that can play multiple positions, guard multiple positions. He's a guy that has shown he can go get you 15 to 20 night in and night out. He, again, is a great third option, a guy that you have for the foreseeable future with Lavine and Lillard, and guys that can help Lillard to kind of take a night off or just do things that Lillard is best at, hitting shots, doing the things that he needs to do to be effective on the court. And I think you go get a guy like OG, I think could really help. And if he is available, I mean, Toronto could make a lot of sense. They've made trade before in the past, right? And not just that, but the number 7 pick, again, you include that. You include whatever little pieces you need, and you try to go make a package that is convincing enough to the Toronto Raptors for them to say, yeah, okay, that's a trade. Not just that, but the Raptors have, at the end of the day, a treasure trove of these style of wings, 6'7" to 6'8" wings that can play multiple positions. So if any team could give up a wing, especially with the emergence of Scotty Barnes, I think the Toronto Raptors are that team. Now, will they do it? Like I said, I don't think it's as likely. I think a lot of the rumors are kind of just smoke, but usually where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think it's more of like throwing it out there. You throw the fishing line and you see what bites. If you don't like it, you throw it back. If you like it, then you take it in, right? I could see something along those lines. But ultimately, if they could get a Jerami Grant or an OG for their wing guy, and you have Lillard, you have Lavine, and now you got that big solid wing. Even if it's not these two, even if it's somebody else, I think that is a huge benefit. A guy that can play and slot in at the 4 spot or the 3 spot, or you even get a center that was already part of the team, right? And you could slot either of those guys next to Nurkic, and it's perfect, right? It's a great position. He's a guy that can play make. I mean, Portland was a lot better statistically on both ends when he played. When he was on the floor with the team, he was great. The issue is injuries, right? He's never been able to stay on the floor. He's never been able to stay healthy, and that's always been a big problem. But maybe he takes a discount. Maybe you can get him because he was making $18 million a year. I'm sure some team would offer him more, but maybe for the opportunity to stay in Portland, maybe you could get him for like a $12 to $13 million contract. I think that's worth taking a flyer on. And now you have like your core 4 essentially of, let's say, a Jerami Grant, Lavine, Lillard, and Nurkic. Now you're in a great position. You got a great quality 4. You kind of round out your players accordingly around these 4. Go get another guy to fill out your starting 5. Go get, some quality bench players. You got to get another big or 2, which is great, especially for this free agency, because there is a ton of various bigs. I mean, there is no shortage of bigs. So that's a big thing, no pun intended, that they could go and get one or two big guys in case he does get hurt. But I think he's a guy that you can run your offense through, right? He is a great passer. He's a guy that can kick out, do what's necessary. You can drop him on the low block. He can hit outside shots. He's very versatile for a big man. And he really sort of opens the floor for you in so many ways with his passing, playmaking abilities. And especially because if you have this team that is structured like this, you don't really have that traditional point guard. Like I said, Lillard could play make. Lavine can play make, but they aren't necessarily playmakers in the traditional sense. And that was the problem we saw with CJ and Lillard, right? It was neither of them were really the quintessential playmaker type of guys. And you'd see these stagnant moments where Lillard would take over a game or CJ would take over a game, and it was kind of like you go, I go, you go, I go. So if you have this big man that you can kind of run your offense through, just like the Joker in Denver, right? That's kind of what they do. You post it down to the big man, let him make your plays from, the high post, the low post, whatever. Kick it out to your shooters, kick it out to Lavine, kick it out to Lillard. I just think, again, it puts you in a really good spot. And then for your fifth spot for this roster, because we got to do a starting five, right? I went with Otto Porter Jr., right? Golden State Warriors. He's in the NBA Finals. He's looking great. He has been a prototypical 3-and-D guy. And very likely the Golden State Warriors, if he's going to stay there, they're going to have the taxpayer mid-level. Well, the Blazers could offer more. Even with all of these pickups and stuff like that, you could still offer a mid-level exception, something like that, and get him around, $8 to $9 million a year, something like that, and really draw him in. You're also promising a bigger role, right? He could start. Because think about it. So say you have Lillard, you have Lavine, you have Grant, you have, Nurk. Now you have OPJ. Like, you could have him play the 3 or the 4 spot. Jerami Grant could play the 3 or the 4 spot. And now you have the defense, you have the offense, you have all the pieces you need to be successful. You got guys with experience that has been there. I mean, OPJ hit 4 of 5 threes in game 1 of the finals. So I mean, he's not afraid of the moment. He can knock down shots. He can guard guys, and that's what Portland really needs. Portland needs guys like this, and we've seen it throughout these playoffs. All the teams that had success had multiple wing guys that they could throw at other guys and just consistently guard multiple positions, switch, do things like that. And so I think you trade for a Jerami Grant, and then you sign an OPJ. I think that is a great spot to be in. And then you have your starting 5 sort of rounded out. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think about this potential team? Again, it's all very believable. They could sign Lavine outright. They could sign Nurk outright. They could sign Porter outright. And then you trade for Jerami Grant. I think it's a possibility. It's something that could really work. Like I said, OG is another option, although I think is not as realistic as Jerami. I think Jerami Grant is very realistic, and he has been heavily rumored and reported to be on the Blazers' radar as a guy for them to go get, to put next to Damian Lillard. I just think with this, you have a nice balance of scoring, defense, and playmaking ability, which is what the Blazers have never really had all three, and that's always been the issue. I mean, Portland, they were a terrible defensive team for so long. I mean, teams were basically just outscoring them because Lillard was the only guy putting up 30 regularly. Yeah, if CJ put up 30 or 42, then you were in the game, but if he didn't, if he only put up like 20 that game, nobody was stopping the other team. I mean, they were getting layups and jump shots, and it was just a mess. This, you have multiple guys that can switch on multiple players, things like that. So I think this could really work. But, what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear your opinion down in the comment section below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.